How does a simple clay jar, buried for 2 millennia beneath the desert sands, threaten to rewrite the entire history of human technological progress? Imagine an object so profoundly out of place that its very existence mocks the established timeline of scientific discovery. A small, unassuming yellow vessel, barely 6 inches tall, holds within its core a configuration of metals that logic dictates should not exist in the ancient world. This is the Baghdad Battery, a relic that forces us to confront an impossible question. Did ancient engineers harness the invisible power of electricity thousands of years before the modern era? The anatomy of this impossible device is deceptively simple, yet chillingly precise. Inside the terracotta jar rests a hollow cylinder crafted from rolled copper sheet. Suspended dead center within this copper tube, without touching the sides, is a single iron rod. An asphalt plug seals the top, holding the rod firmly in place while isolating it from the copper. To any modern electrical engineer, this schematic is instantly recognizable. It is not a vase. It is not a standard container. It is the exact structural blueprint for a galvanic cell. The story of its unearthing begins in 1936 during excavations at Kujut Rabu, an ancient village situated just outside the bustling metropolis of Baghdad. The region was once the beating heart of Mesopotamia, a cradle of civilization where empires rose and fell like the tides. German archaeologist Wilhelm Koenig, who was serving as the director of the National Museum of Iraq, recognized the anomaly almost immediately upon examining the finds. He did not see mere pottery. He saw a deliberate, engineered apparatus. Koenig proposed a theory so radical it sent shockwaves through the academic establishment. He suggested that when filled with an acidic electrolyte, perhaps fermented grape juice, lemon juice, or common vinegar, the two dissimilar metals would react. The acid would strip electrons from the copper and transfer them to the iron, generating a measurable electrical charge. This meant the ancient world might have possessed a working knowledge of direct current. The era to which these objects are dated only deepens the enigma. Archaeologists place them within the Parthian Empire or the subsequent Sasanian period, spanning roughly from 250 BCE to 650 CE. These were formidable civilizations, known for their fierce military prowess and vast trade networks that connected Rome to the Han Dynasty in China. Yet, nowhere in the extensive written records of the Parthian Empire is there a manual for constructing a battery. There are no ancient blueprints for electrical grids, no poems praising the spark of artificial lightning. This silence in the historical record presents a massive paradox. If they possessed electricity, why is there no written evidence of its use? The silent mechanism simply exists, a physical anomaly defying the texts. Some historians point to the deep-seated tradition of guild secrets in ancient Mesopotamia. Knowledge of this caliber would not have been distributed to the masses. It would have been closely guarded by elite artisans, passed down through oral tradition or cryptic, encoded manuscripts that have long since turned to dust. But what could a society without light bulbs or electric motors possibly do with a low-voltage charge? The most prominent theory, championed by Koenig himself, involves the lucrative art of electroplating. By stringing several of these ancient cells together in a series, artisans could theoretically generate enough current to transfer a micro-thin layer of gold or silver onto cheaper base metals. This technique would have revolutionized the jewelry trade, allowing craftsmen to produce seemingly solid gold artifacts at a fraction of the cost. Evidence suggests that such metallurgical trickery was highly prized. Throughout the region, archaeologists have recovered ancient copper and silver trinkets coated in gold that exhibit a strange, perfectly uniform thinness. Traditional fire gilding techniques often leave uneven pooling and toxic mercury residues. Yet, Some of these artifacts display a flawless finish characteristic of modern electrolytic deposition. The tantalizing possibility remains that the battery was the secret engine driving an ancient, highly lucrative counterfeiting operation. Exploring alternative applications leads us into the dimly lit sanctuaries of ancient temples. Religion and magic were inextricably linked to technology in the ancient world. A priest possessing an array of hidden batteries could wire them to a metallic idol. When a worshipper approached to present an offering and touched the statue, they would receive a sudden, inexplicable shock. To an ancient mind entirely ignorant of electrical currents, this invisible jolt would be interpreted as the literal, undeniable presence of a divine entity. Another compelling avenue of speculation involves medicine. The ancient Greeks and Romans are known to have used the electric torpedo fish to treat ailments like gout and chronic headaches, relying on the creature's natural shock to numb pain. If the physicians of the Sasanian period understood the analgesic properties of a mild electrical current, the Baghdad Battery might have been a localized, controllable medical device. Acupuncture needles, combined with a low voltage current, could have provided revolutionary pain relief centuries before modern electrotherapy. Despite these fascinating possibilities, conventional historians raise significant objections. The most glaring issue is the asphalt seal. If the jar was completely sealed at the top, how could the electrolyte be replenished or replaced once it was exhausted? Furthermore, no conductive wires have ever been found alongside the jars. Without wires to complete the circuit and draw the power outward, the battery is functionally a closed, useless loop. Skeptics argue that the sophisticated design is merely a coincidence. They propose the jars were nothing more than protective storage vessels for sacred scrolls. According to this view, the papyrus or parchment was wrapped around the iron rod, inserted into the copper cylinder to protect it from the elements, and sealed with asphalt to keep out moisture. Over centuries, the organic scrolls decayed into nothingness, leaving behind only the metallic skeleton that modern eyes misinterpret as a machine. Yet, the scroll theory fails to account for the specific, highly reactive corrosion found on the iron rods. Chemical analysis of the surviving artifacts revealed distinct pitting and degradation consistent with prolonged exposure to an acidic agent, not just ambient moisture. The iron had been eaten away in a manner that strongly suggests the presence of a liquid electrolyte. The physical trauma on the metal tells a story of chemical reaction, not passive storage. Modern science has repeatedly put the electrical theory to the test. Various researchers and universities have constructed exact replicas of the Mesopotamian artifact, sourcing historically accurate terracotta, copper, and iron. When filled with lemon juice or wine vinegar, these replicas spring to life. They consistently produce between zero point 0.8 and 2.0 volts of electricity. The empirical evidence is undeniable. Whether by brilliant design or bizarre accident, the apparatus functions exactly as an early galvanic cell. The implications of these successful experiments are staggering. They force us to reconsider the linear narrative of human progress. We are taught that technology marches forward in a straight line, from the primitive to the advanced. But the existence of this localized, forgotten technology suggests a more chaotic, cyclical history. Knowledge can be acquired, mastered, and then entirely lost, swallowed by the sands of time or the fires of conquest. This phenomenon of lost ancient high technology is not isolated to the sands of Iraq. Across the globe, anomalous artifacts challenge our understanding. The Antikythera mechanism, an ancient Greek analog computer, demonstrates an impossible mastery of celestial gearwork. In Egypt, the Dendera light reliefs depict massive, bulb-like objects that some fringe theorists argue represent early cathode ray tubes. While the contexts differ, the underlying theme unites them. The ancient world was far more sophisticated than we dare to admit. Imagine the trajectory of human civilization if the secret of the Baghdad Battery had not been lost, if the scholars of the Parthian Empire had recognized the broader applications of their creation. Could they have developed early telegraphs or rudimentary lighting? The spark was literally in their hands, yet it failed to ignite an industrial revolution. It remained a parlor trick, a jeweler's secret, or a temple illusion, ultimately buried and forgotten as empires collapsed and new conquerors burned the ancient libraries. The tragedy of this lost knowledge is compounded by modern events. For decades, the original artifacts rested in the National Museum of Iraq, silent witnesses to a forgotten age. Researchers from around the world traveled to study the peculiar jars, hoping to unlock their final secrets through advanced metallurgical analysis. But the chaos of the modern era intervened, echoing the destructive cycles of the ancient world. During the 2003 invasion of Iraq, the museum was subjected to catastrophic looting. Amidst the destruction of countless priceless antiquities, the Baghdad Battery vanished. The physical evidence, the actual artifacts that sparked nearly a century of fierce debate, were stolen. Their current whereabouts are entirely unknown. They may be languishing in a private black market collection, or worse, they may have been destroyed by individuals who had no understanding of their profound historical value. Today, we are left with only photographs, replica models, and Wilhelm Koenig's original notes. The enigma's shadow still looms over the archaeological community. We are forced to debate the ghost of an artifact, relying on secondary evidence to prove the existence of ancient electricity. The disappearance of the battery adds a dark poetic irony to its story. It is a piece of lost ancient knowledge that has been lost all over again. The true purpose of the Baghdad Battery remains one of history's most electrifying mysteries. It stands as a profound testament to human ingenuity, a reminder that our ancestors possessed a capacity for invention that routinely defies our modern expectations. Whether it was a tool for gilded deception, an instrument of divine shock, or a medical device, it proves that the spark of discovery has been burning for millennia. Exploring these ancient enigmas ensures that while the physical objects may vanish, the questions they inspire will continue to illuminate the darkest corners of our past.